Today's session will be recorded, just so everybody knows. One thing that we like to do is to provide our recorded sessions on our website. So I can I'll share that link in the chat right now. Kathy is actually the one that uploads the videos. And welcome to everybody just joining us now. We're about to get started. Just a reminder, if you can mute your mic just while we're chatting, it'll reduce on the background noise. Thank you very much. And again, if you want to put into the chat where you're joining us from, we'd love to see, how far people are joining us from. I saw people from Ontario, Pine Creek, Manitoba, Chicago, Winnipeg, Treaty One. It's really amazing to see how far and wide our audience is joining us from. So thank you to everybody who's logging in to be a part of our sessions. We really appreciate that you guys take the time to sit with us and learn these things in a good way. So let's see if people are still joining, but I'll get going. I don't want to take too long. I'll just do a brief introduction and then hand it over to Kathy. So my name is Amanda. I work with the Niche Corporation. I help with moderating these events. So if anybody has questions, you can put them in the chat. But I'm Kicho Dene. I am from Treaty 11 territory, but I grew up in Treaty 5 up in Churchill. I'm, very excited and honored that I can help bring these sessions to life for you all. And even more thankful that we have such great knowledge keepers such as Kathy, who's willing to share with us, her teachings. My boss, EJ. Yeah, so I'll pass it over to you, Kathy. If you want to time at the end for questions, just let me know and I can help field the questions from the chat box. So I'll turn it over to you now.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Okay, awesome. So my name's Catherine Pompana. Everybody calls me Kathy. I'm from the Sioux Valley Dakota Nation, which is here in Manitoba, about 2.5 hours from here, I guess, maybe 3 hours, depending on how fast you drive, I guess. I was born and raised, though, in London, Ontario, due to the 60 scoop. My mom had a couple of kids taken in the 60 scoop, and in order for me not to be taken, she ran from here and took off to where there was work, and that was in London. So I was born and raised there, but then I moved here in 2000 to attend university. So today I'm going to do a brief teaching. We thought maybe we would try this these sort of I guess people call them sometimes lunch and learns, and we thought we would give it a try. And see what the response was. So this is the first one that we're going to do, and it's just a feather teaching. It's a quick, sort of a quick teaching about life's journey. And so I'm going to start off by saying, the eagle is very sacred to Indigenous people because it's our belief, and this I believe is across across Canada, across all nations, that the eagle feather or the eagle carries our prayers up to Creator. Oh, somebody's not happy. So the eagle carries our prayers, and so if you've gone to ceremony, Sundance, for example, at times as soon as the Sundance is done, you'll see eagles soaring around the top of the Sundance Arbor, and they go up and they soar in a circle up and up and up until you can't see them anymore. And as soon as you can't see them anymore is when they cross over that thin veil from our world to spirit world. And so they're carrying all of our prayers up to Creator. And so the same goes for an eagle feather. Although that eagle is no longer here, it'll no longer attached to this feather, the spirit of this eagle is still attached to this feather. And so when I first started sun dancing, I didn't have a pipe at that time yet. And so when I was in the teepee after the first day, we were all bedding down to go to sleep. One of the elderly ladies, the helper ladies, came to me and she said, "You don't have a pipe?" And I said, "No, I don't have a pipe yet. No." And she said, "Well, here." And so she went in her bag and she pulled out. It was just a piece of cardboard folded, and she pulled it out, and inside there were a bunch of eagle feathers. And she pulled one out, and she says, "Here." And I so I took it, and thinking that she was going to lend me this feather. I was going to borrow it, I guess, for the weekend. And she said, "Because you don't have a pipe, this is what you'll use to communicate with Creator." And she explained to me about how that spirit of that eagle still resides in this feather, and that when I pray, I'll hang on to this feather and I'll pray, and my prayers will go through this feather to the spirit of that eagle, who will then take those prayers to Creator. And then it's the same when we pray with our pipe. When we fill our pipe and we pray, and that smoke goes up, and it takes our prayers to Creator. And that's the only two things that can pass through that thin veil between our world and spirit world is the eagle, the spirit of the eagle, and that smoke from our pipe. And so that's how we communicate with Creator. So if you don't have a pipe, and you want to, you think you need to have a pipe to pray, as long as you have an eagle feather, or one even that you can hold on to, maybe find an elder and say, I want to pray, and they'll hand you an eagle feather to pray with if you don't have a pipe to pray with. So that's how I started, using an eagle feather. At first was for my prayers, because until I got a pipe. But I got this teaching one time from an elder. He was a visiting elder. I'm so bad with names. Um, I was working at Stony Mountain at the time. I was an Aboriginal liaison officer at the Stony Mountain Institution here in Manitoba. And we had a visiting elder come from the Yukon. And I feel so bad that I don't remember his name. Anyway, so he came and he was giving a teaching to the group of guys that I was working with. And so we had a feather there that they used to smudge with. And that we used to use for when we had a sharing circle. They would hold on to that feather. And so what he did was he was hanging onto that feather, and he was talking to those guys, and he gave them a teaching about this road of life that we're on, this path. And he said that's what this feather. He told them that's what this feather represents, is this path of life, like this. And so on the quill here is the path that you walk on. And these little fluffs at the bottom, this is when we're a baby and we're just new and clean, and we haven't experienced anything yet. And so that represents when we're newborn baby. And then as we go along in life is when we get older, and then the very tip of this quill gets really thin, and that's when we're about to go back to Creator and go to the spirit world. So he had this feather like this, and he started to say, what, sometimes in our life we go through some things. We see some things in our childhood that are not good. We might see abuse. We might be neglected. We might see our parents drinking. We might see them fighting. We might be abused ourselves. And as he was doing this, those guys that were getting this teaching were like, "What are you doing? You're wrecking that feather." And he said, "Just hang on." And he kept going. He said, this is your life so far. This is, as a child. you've experienced some things, and so this is how these things that you've experienced down here are going to affect you up here in your life. They're going to start affecting in your adulthood, because as a child, when we experience trauma or anything like that, we don't really have the tools yet to know how to deal with those things. And so as children, we sort of just block them out. And so he said that they're going to start affecting you as you get older in your life. And so, as you go along, you're a teenager, because of these things that you experienced here, then you might start drinking or experimenting with alcohol and drugs, and risky behaviors, and having multiple partners, and all of these things. And so now you're in teenage life, and your road has become, you know um it's not the way it used to be. There's problems there that start to come up. And then he said, as you get into adult, even more things come along. Partying and not following a good life, and those teachings that Creator gave us to live by, you kind of leave those behind. And so your life is disheveled like this. It's not an easy life. You've lived up to this point a hard life. And so he said, I know when I work with you guys, he said, you never want to go back and talk about the things that you went through in your life. You never want to. You always say, you know what, that's the past, and I don't want to go back there. I just want to keep going with my future. And he said, you can do that, but if you don't make amends with these things that happened in your past, it's just going to keep going and going, and you're going to live a hard life. And so this part gets shorter and shorter. And so that might mean, as you're going along like this, that shortens your lifespan. And so he said, it's better to make amends with those things in your past. And that doesn't mean, that you have to forgive people if they did something wrong to you, if they did something really bad to you. You don't have to forgive them, because, forgiveness is one of those words that it's really hard to transfer that word from our languages, from English into our languages, or from our language into English, because forgiveness in the English language is about telling that person, you did something bad to me and I forgive you. But for us, in our languages, it really means making peace, not necessarily forgiving the person for what they did, but making peace that, yes, it happened. I can't change that, but I'm no longer going to allow it to affect me. Because by allowing it to keep affecting me as I get older means that that person is still abusing me or still doing what they did to me. But if I can go back and make amends and make peace with that for myself, then it'll stop affecting you as much. So he said, that's why, when I sit down and I talk to you guys, one-on-one, I want you to talk about your past, and I want you to see how all those things that, all this hard life that you had, once you start going back and making amends with those things, and having forgiveness, maybe not for the person, but, peace within yourself, you can see that you'll never forget them. Those things are always going to be in your memory. But if you go back and make amends with those things, your life isn't as hard anymore, and your future looks a lot better. And so we can put ourselves back together. We might be injured, but we're not broken. We're never broken. We have injuries that happen to us, but we can make amends with those things, and we can put ourselves back together, and our life starts to look a lot better for our future. And so that was, a very powerful teaching that he brought with him. And he said, share it, make sure you share it. And so I've been sharing it ever since he taught me that teaching. And even some of the inmates that received that teaching, they have gone on to share it as well. So it's a really powerful teaching. um One of the things, that when we're growing up as children, um like I said, when I was young and I first started sun dancing, I didn't have a pipe, which is, normal. Kids don't usually get a pipe until they're a little bit older and able to, understand what it is and to take care of it and use it, the way that it's intended to be used. But the eagle feather is usually one of the first things that a child will get, as a beginning to their bundle. And if you can, explain to them that this is a way to communicate with creator, and that the spirit of this eagle still lives within this feather, and that spirit of that eagle takes that feather to creator, it's really meaningful to them, and they really hang on to that knowledge that you just passed on to them. And it becomes, something that's very, they feel honored, when kids get something like this, because these are, things that, we always say, don't touch that, don't touch that, because you're a kid, right? Don't touch it. But when we give them something like this, it's a great honor for them to have and to use. um Now, how you would go about getting an eagle feather, you'd have to speak to elders. If you were having, maybe a rite of passage ceremony, maybe for your child, for a child that's coming into teenage years, and you want to give them an eagle feather, find an elder, talk to them, tell them what you want to do, and this is, I want to give my son or my daughter a feather, and this is what I want it to represent for them. And they might be able to get you one. They're very hard to come by these days. You have to be registered with the Ministry of Natural Resources, um, and as an elder or a knowledge keeper, and they have a list that they go by. And then if they come across an eagle, because they get caught up in fences, they get hit by cars, stuff like that. That happens to them, so they'll be brought into the Ministry of Natural Resources, where those people will, um, they measure the feathers, they see how, what kind of bird it was from, they catalog it, and then the feathers then are given, but going by the list, to elders and knowledge keepers. And then so they might have a few feathers available that they can give, to you. So yeah, so that basically was the feather teaching. Um, it's just a short teaching. It only took, maybe 5 minutes when he did it, but it's a very powerful reminder. And also, when because the eagles are messengers to creator, they're also messengers from creator. Sorry, coughing now. So if you should happen to see an eagle, maybe it flies down in front of your car, or you just happen to look and you see it, that's a reminder to us to kind of take a second to stop and think about where we are in our life, what we're doing. um are we doing something bad at that time, or are we doing something good? It's a reminder, if you're doing something good, to keep creators watching, and has sent a message down, and so keep it up, keep going, you're doing good. But if we're doing something that's not so great, it's also a reminder from creator, stop and take a look at what you're doing, So the eagle feathers, the eagles and the feathers are very powerful, and so we take great care of these feathers. And I think that's a little bit misunderstood at times by our non-indigenous friends and family. They don't understand how important this is. But to us, this is a very sacred object that we use, a very sacred tool that we use. And when I explained to the guys that I was working with at that time at the jail, when we have a sharing circle, sometimes you have a talking stick, sometimes you have an eagle feather. And so I explained to them that the spirit of this eagle is still attached to this feather, and that eagle will take your prayers to Creator. So as you're sharing, you'll hold this feather. And what that does is it also helps to bring out the truth, which is why we blessed eagle feathers to go into courtrooms. Myself, my husband, there was many other elders that came out that day, and we blessed eagle feathers that went to courtrooms across Manitoba and across Canada, so that you can, instead of putting your hand on a Bible, you can hold that eagle feather, because to us, because that eagle is still attached to that feather, we know that what we're thinking, what we're saying might be something different than what we're actually thinking. But the truth is what this eagle will take to Creator. So Creator's listening when you're holding on to this feather. So if you're not telling the truth, Creator's going to know. And so that's between you and Creator now. And so it really helped when we were having, sharing circle, or if they were talking about, something that they had done, or their past. It was really important for them to know that this means truth. And so now, as you're holding this is your conscience. This is between you and Creator. So if you're lying, it doesn't matter to me, but Creator's going to know. So that's just a short teaching about the eagle feather. So what's actually going to happen now is I didn't know this was going to happen. It wasn't scheduled, but my husband actually, he's here, and he's going to sing an eagle song for us to go with this this eagle feather presentation. So here he is. Stop hiding. What was it? Okay, this is Ernest Daniels Jr.
I'm from Saging in Swan Lake, and yeah, I just heard my wife talking about doing feather teaching, and I offered to share one of the songs I've picked up during my travels. This particular song belongs to the Turtle Lodge in Saging. It was a song that was received through fasting and ceremony, and we never take ownership over these songs. They are songs to be shared and used throughout Indigenous country for ceremony, or for strength, or for when you're having a hard time. Someone may need to hear something positive. So if you know the song or learn the song, I invite you to share it and invite you to sing along with us.
Yeah. Okay, so that's it. That's our lunchtime teaching. I thank you all for coming out and joining us. We'll do more of these. We wanted to, this is the first one, and we wanted to see what the response was, because we know some people are, at their office and having lunch, and this is the only time they get sometimes to tune in. So we'll do some more. And like I said, this is only the first one. So stay tuned. Keep track of the Facebook page, and keep looking for these. And we have many more teachings and workshops that are coming up. And I hope to see you all at the next one. So thank you.
Thank you, Kathy, and thank you, Ernie. That was amazing. Um, I think one of my favorite things to hear is drum songs and music, kind of in general, spoken in the language.
Every third Thursday
Yeah,
of the month, Ernie and I will be doing drum song teaching. So he'll pick a song, and I'll put it on a PowerPoint so that you can see the words, and then you can learn the song and then sing along with us. So we'll do that every third Thursday of the month.
yeah. So that starts on next Friday, the 19th.
Yeah, next Friday, and it's an evening thing, so you don't have to try and join during the day. It'll be an evening thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just going to put our email in the chat here. There was some questions earlier. If anybody has any follow-up questions or requests, we're probably just going to end here just to be time conscious for everybody. But that is our email address. If you'd like to be added to our mailing email list, we email our events out ahead of time with registration links. Or if you have Facebook, please like and follow our Facebook page. We're posting a lot of events there as well. We have so many things coming up, so we're very excited to have you guys join us. But yeah, I think we'll let you get going. Thank you so much, Kathy, for doing this for us over our lunch hour. So everybody have a wonderful Friday, wonderful weekend. And we'll see you next week. Long weekend. It's a long weekend. Yeah. Happy long weekend, everybody. We'll see you next week, hopefully.
Big witch, Kathy.